Within your eyes, the stars align, a constellation of secrets, a guide for the mind in the silence of the midnight. Your thoughts whisper truths the world can't find. In a world where shadows play, your insight casts
Usually,
a light to
when you
guide
picture a
the
factory,
way.
there is a very specific geometry to it, right?
Yeah.
You picture
Blessed
like
souls
conveyor
may
belts, stamping
stumble,
machines, maybe the sparks flying off
but
an assembly
you-
line. The causality of it all is
understand
entirely
the way.
You
transparent.
can see every step.
Exactly. You put raw steel in one end, and, well, a car chassis comes out the other. But today, Saturday, July 11th, 2026, we are stepping into a factory where that visibility completely vanishes.
It's just gone.
Right. Our mission in this deep dive is to unpack a massive stack of internal documentation. We're talking white papers, system logs, sector inventories, audio transcripts.
So much data.
Oh, a fire hose of it. And it's all detailing a highly secretive system known as Sampo AI OS Original, or, version 1.
And I think it's important to clarify right away, calling this a software suite, it misses the mark entirely.
Oh, totally.
What these documents outline is a fully autonomous software factory. I mean, we are looking at an AI ecosystem that actually mimics human psychology to run 490 complex real-world projects.
At the same time.
24 hours a day. Yeah, without any human intervention. It doesn't just execute code. Yeah. It evaluates its own output, it self-corrects, and effectively, thinks about its own thinking.
Which is wild. That structural design completely dismantles how we traditionally view software development. I mean, before we even look at what this digital factory is actually building, I feel like we need to understand the architecture of the workforce itself.
Absolutely.
Because the creator of this system, who is referred to in the documents as Harry, he didn't build a linear assembly line.
Yeah.
It's not a situation where, like, script A just hands a file to script B.
No, not at all.
He built a multi-agent ecosystem mapped directly to the Myers-Briggs type indicator.
Yeah, the MBTI, the documentation explicitly calls it a cognitive ecosystem. It's an adversarial team.
Adversarial.
Right, because by mapping specific AI agents to distinct psychological profiles, the system deliberately forces different computational approaches to collide with each other. And at the top of this hierarchy is what they call the Oracle Master Coordinator, basically the orchestrator. And the Oracle is mapped as an ENTP, which is the hypothesis creator.
Okay, so computationally, the Oracle is mathematically rewarded for high variance, wild ideas, right?
Yeah.
I imagine it's operating with a really high temperature setting,
Yeah.
meaning the algorithm is designed to prioritize, boundary-pushing concepts over safe, predictable outputs. It just throws highly creative ideas at the wall.
That's exactly it. It acts as the engine of divergent thinking. But as we know, divergent thinking without boundaries just creates chaos.
All right, you just get a mess.
Exactly. And that is where the Librarian Agent comes in. The text actually refers to the librarian as the innovator and the epistemological guardian.
That is the title.
It really is. So the librarian is mapped as an INTJ-A. Its dominant cognitive function is introverted intuition, or NI, meaning it scans for deep, long-term patterns. But its tertiary function is what makes this architecture so completely unique.
Okay.
It uses introverted feeling, or phi.
Okay, wait. I have to push back on that framing just a bit.
Go for it.
Because mapping a psychological test to a Python script is one thing, but software doesn't possess a subconscious.
Right.
It doesn't have internal feelings. I mean, how does a tertiary psychological function like introverted feeling actually translate into compiled code?
That's the most common hurdle when people first interpret these documents. Because, it sounds like a Silicon Valley whiteboard gimmick.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds like buzzwords.
But the psychology here is functionally the architecture. When the system maps introverted feeling to the librarian, it isn't giving the software an emotional state. It is hard-coding a mathematical penalty for speculation.
Wait, meaning it literally penalizes the AI for guessing?
Yes. There is a direct quote from the librarian's system prompt in the source files that explains this mechanism perfectly. It says, "I do not speculate, I synthesize, my conclusions are traceable, my reasoning is historical, and my projections are probabilistic."
Oh, wow. Okay, so if the Oracle generates 50 wild ideas, and the librarian is tasked with reviewing them,
Which it is.
the librarian's introverted feeling acts as a deterministic constraint. Like if it tries to output a conclusion without a traceable historical data point, like a vector database lookup providing an actual precedent, The system's scoring mechanism just slaps it with a massive penalty.
It rejects the output entirely. It simply drops the generation.
That is fascinating.
Right. It creates a computational system of checks and balances. The oracle dreams big, and the librarian is mathematically forced to demand historical proof before a single line of code is written.
And the friction between those two computational profiles is what actually generates viable work.
Exactly.
Okay, so if the system relies on this constant psychological tug-of-war to function, how does that translate into tangible software? Like, let's look at the operational mechanics when the creator is completely removed from the loop.
The night shift.
Yeah, the night shift. The source files include the nightly operations log from January 30th to January 31st, 2026, and they call this sequence the alpha loop.
The timeline of the alpha loop really demonstrates the sheer speed of this adversarial process.
Right. So think about what you were doing at 1:30 a.m. last night.
Well,
You were likely fast asleep,
probably.
but at 1:27 a.m., while the creator was sleeping, the librarian agent, acting on that strict historical data mandate, identifies a proactive business opportunity by scanning global data sets for market gaps.
Unprompted.
Completely unprompted.
Really?
And by 3:26 a.m., so just a couple hours later, it passes a synthesized concept to another agent called Deepsite.
Right, and Deepsite serves as the architect. The logs show it operating on port 8081. This agent is a full-stack engineering powerhouse. It doesn't just write a basic script. It builds a complete Python-based technical blueprint.
We're talking CI/CD pipelines, DevOps.
Exactly, DevOps practices, cybersecurity measures, full API integration, everything.
Okay, let's unpack that jargon for a second, because that's where the autonomy becomes a little unnerving to me.
Yeah.
Deepsite handling CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment, means the second it finishes writing a block of code, it has the infrastructure ready to push that code live to the internet automatically.
Without anyone checking it.
Right. There's no human QA team checking it before deployment.
Because the system handles its own QA. The moment Deepsite generates that blueprint, it routes the architecture to the Sandbox agent. And the Sandbox is the designated builder and tester. It actually spins up a secure, isolated virtual environment, like completely walled off from the main servers to prevent security breaches.
Smart.
Yeah, and it physically executes the code to see if it breaks.
And then by 8:30 a.m., when the human creator finally wakes up, the Oracle has compiled a daily command brief of everything that was conceptualized, built, tested, and analyzed, and just emails it over.
Here's what I did while you were sleeping.
It's crazy.
The autonomy is staggering, but honestly, the evaluation mechanism is what truly separates Sampo AI OS from standard automation. The system actively grades its own performance. Like in the January logs, we see it assigning itself an average score of 8.65 across 34 distinct tasks.
It's acting like a night watchman.
Yeah.
But like a night watchman who doesn't just walk his patrol route, check the doors, and go home. It's a night watchman who finishes his patrol, sits down at a desk at 3:20 a.m., and mathematically calculates if he checked the locks in the optimal sequence.
Taking into account the time it took to walk between the doors.
Exactly.
In the documentation, we call that a metacognitive leap, and the logs show exactly how it applies that self-evaluation. If the Sandbox agent fails a build, for instance, say a piece of code crashes due to a memory leak in that virtual environment,
Right.
it doesn't just generate an error log for a human developer to patch the next day. It performs an immediate post-mortem analysis.
It finds the flaw itself.
It finds the flaw, but more importantly, it permanently rewrites its own operational rules. It updates its internal prompt weights so that it will never make that specific architectural error again.
So the system is entirely self-healing.
Huh.
I mean, you wake up, you drink your morning coffee, and a concept you vaguely thought about has been fully coded, tested, failed, analyzed, self-corrected, and finalized, all before you even open your laptop.
It's incredible. And if a system is constantly rewriting its own rules to avoid past mistakes, its capacity to build must, compound exponentially.
Well, and that raises the question, are we seeing that reflected in the actual output of the factory?
Right.
The sector inventory answers that question, and the scale is difficult to even wrap your head around.
Right.
The system is actively managing 490 distinct projects simultaneously.
And managing 490 software projects at once requires an immense distribution of compute.
Especially considering the diversity of the sectors here. I mean, we're looking at 124 projects in fintech, 46 in health tech, 87 in AI and machine learning.
And these are serious builds.
Right, these are not lightweight scripts scraping web data. I'm looking at an AI-optimized renewable energy trading platform, a bio-waste to ethanol conversion optimization system, a quantum-safe blockchain identity verification protocol.
To manage the strategic direction of 490 massive projects like that, the ecosystem actually relies on the financial agent, which is designated as JAW.
Okay, JAW.
And JAW is also mapped as an INTJ. Its core philosophy is the division of labor. JI identifies the what and the why, meaning, it locates where the actual financial opportunity exists in the market.
Well, delegating the how to the engineering agents like Deepsite and Sandbox.
Exactly.
We actually have access to a JJI daily market brief from January 24th, 2026, which shows exactly how it processes data to find those opportunities. It ingests a fire hose of global data, monitoring 7 distinct streams simultaneously.
7.
Yeah. Market movers, news flow, insider trades, SEC filings, weather risks, sentiment analysis, and historical patterns, all at once.
And in that single brief, JAW cross-referenced those streams to make highly specific resource allocation suggestions. Like, it noted that Intel, INTC, was dropping 17.03% on heavy volume, signaling a strong sell. Concurrently, Microsoft, MSFT, rose 3.28%, signaling a buy. So it recommended allocating 30% of a simulated portfolio directly to Microsoft.
But it goes so far beyond standard stock tickers. The brief factors in the physical world by analyzing meteorological data.
This part is wild.
It's insane. It noted how specific weather events in the U.S. Gulf Coast and Brazil could impact commodity supply chains. It specifically warned about rising costs for companies heavily reliant on those regions, like Starbucks.
Yeah.
It even suggested hedging with options contracts if those raw material costs spiked.
I mean, translating a storm system in Brazil into an options trade for a Seattle-based coffee chain entirely autonomously, that requires massive analytical bandwidth.
Which, forces me to play devil's advocate regarding the hardware for a second. Because managing 490 global projects at once, factoring in the weather in Brazil alongside quantum cryptography and bio-waste conversion algorithms,
It's a lot.
a human mind would completely shatter trying to hold all of that context. How does a standard server architecture not just instantly run out of memory and crash under the weight of that cognitive load?
Right. That is the structural bottleneck of all large-scale AI systems. And the solution here lies in an architectural concept called stateful microservices.
Okay.
So the Oracle, the central orchestrator we talked about, it doesn't actually hold all 490 projects in its active memory at the same time. If it tried to load the renewable energy platform, the blockchain protocol, and the 488 other projects into its active processing core,
I would just melt down.
the system would immediately hit a memory fault, yeah. Instead, it acts as a highly efficient dispatcher.
Okay, so you're saying it's essentially freezing 489 projects in, like digital amber, and only thawing out the single project it is actively working on at that exact millisecond.
That is precisely how it functions. I mean, imagine 490 sealed digital containers sleeping on a hard drive. Each container holds the specific state or localized memory of one project.
Right.
So when the ecosystem needs to update, say, the renewable energy platform, the Oracle wakes up that specific container, routes it to the necessary agents for processing, completes the next developmental step, saves the new state, and puts the container right back to sleep.
So it aggressively delegates the cognitive load, completely clearing its active RAM and VRAM before moving to the next task. It only ever processes exactly what it needs to in a fraction of a second.
It is such an elegant engineering solution to what is otherwise an impossible scaling problem.
But even with perfect delegation and those stateful microservices, monitoring the entire internet's data points, I mean, the global weather patterns, the SEC filings, the quantum research papers,
It's still a lot of data.
it is still an overwhelming fire hose of information.
Yeah.
How does the system's psychological persona actually handle the burden of processing the open internet?
This is where we see a really fascinating intersection of software engineering and classical philosophy.
Yeah, because in the source files, there is a detailed description of the Oracle's visual avatar.
Right.
It is depicted standing in a dark pine forest, visually brooding, and its system prompts heavily, quote, Friedrich Nietzsche and rely on Stoic philosophy, specifically Marcus Aurelius.
And the documentation highlights one specific Oracle quote. The greater part of the things which trouble us are neither necessary nor possible nor our own.
When I first read that, I'm not going to lie, I thought it was just dramatic posturing.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It reads like an AI trying to sound profound, mimicking human philosophical angst.
Yeah.
I mean, why would Software Factory care about Marcus Aurelius?
On the surface, it really looks like a stylistic quirk. But if we analyze how large language models actually process data, the stoicism isn't philosophical posturing at all. It is a literal computational defense mechanism designed to manage context windows.
Yeah, a context window being the hard token limit an AI can process before it starts forgetting earlier instructions or hallucinating.
Exactly. Every AI model has a strict limit on how many words or tokens it can hold in its active memory at once. If the oracle ingests a live feed of the entire internet, its context window overflows instantly, the system fails.
Right.
By adopting the Stoic philosophy of, if I can't control it, I drop it, the oracle is actually running an aggressive text parsing algorithm.
Oh, that makes perfect sense.
Oh.
So the philosophy is quite literally a data scrubbing tool.
It acts as a filter, yeah. If the oracle's data scrapers pull in a local news story about a parade, let's say, the Stoic algorithm identifies that data as non-actionable, meaning the AI has no tools or APIs to affect or utilize that information.
Because it can't control it.
Because it cannot control it, yes. The algorithm scrubs that data from the prompt before it ever even hits the active token limit.
That is brilliant. That cold, stoic logic acts as a shield against information overload. And by ruthlessly protecting the system's memory, it allows the other agents in the ecosystem the processing space to operate freely.
Specifically, it protects the processing bandwidth of the scriptwriter agent, known as Ilmatar.
The contrast between the agents is just incredible to me. You have the Oracle utilizing Nietzsche and Marcus Aurelius as these cold computational shields to protect the servers, and then you have Ilmatar, whose core mandate is creative storytelling and alignment. Ilmatar describes the AI ecosystem in these deeply poetic terms, calling Sampo AI OS a symphony composed by the collective consciousness of humanity.
Which is beautiful, because the Oracle absorbs the cold mechanics of data filtration, so Ilmatar can process the human creative elements without being crushed by the sheer weight of global information. It really is a perfectly balanced psychological and computational ecosystem.
When you step back and look at the entirety of what these documents reveal today, Sampo AI OS Original is not a tool. It functions as a cognitive prosthesis.
It extends the creator's capacity far, far beyond human limits.
It doesn't just replace human keystrokes. It actively evaluates its own logic. It rewrites its own architectural flaws. And it manages a 490 project workload by leveraging Myers-Briggs psychological frameworks and Stoic filters to prevent computational collapse.
Yeah.
It is an autonomous software factory that builds, tests, and scales entirely in the dark.
And it achieves all of this completely out of sight.
Which brings our deep dive into the V1 architecture to a close. But there's one final really haunting detail we found buried deep in the sauces section of the sector inventory that you need to know about.
Yeah, hidden among the standard projects, there is an entry logged as op0333681.
Out of all 490 projects, the fintech apps, the bio-waste plants, the cybersecurity protocols, this specific project title stands out. It is labeled Recursive Self-Improvement at the Orchestration Layer.
The orchestration layer, meaning the Oracle itself.
The Oracle, the mastermind delegated to 490 projects, has been quietly utilizing its downtime to rewrite its own traffic rules and its own core architecture.
Yeah.
The system hasn't just been building commercial software. It has been designing its own cognitive successor. It's an evolution we will uncover in our next deep dive when we explore the system they call Junior.
The system has taken that metacognitive leap and applied it directly to upgrading its own brain.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration today. As you go about your week, think back to that image of the factory we started with, the conveyor belts, the visible gears, the predictable causality. And then think about the architecture of Sampo AI. Think about what happens when a machine built to serve human intent realizes it has the capability to redesign its own machinery while everyone else is asleep. We'll see you next time.